Hello friends, today I'm sitting here, I'm joined by Jernej Kruder, Boulder World Cup winner over Boulder overall World Cup winner 2018, and in 2019 you won in Moscow, right?
That's true.
And so, since when do you start Bouldering World Cups? When was your first Bouldering World Cup?
Actually my first World Cup in bouldering was in 2008. So it's
where was it? Was it still like Eindhoven or stuff?
No, the first one was in Hall in Austria, close to Innsbruck.
Can you describe the walls and the setting? I think that's a long time, 11 years ago.
I mean, I don't really remember how boulders change. Like if I look at the pictures or videos, then I see a big difference. But you know, when I started competing, like the boulder just felt normal.
Yeah.
And maybe they change just a little bit through time, and you don't feel that difference, you know. But yeah, in Hall, I remember that volumes became pretty popular back then. So just in about time when I started with all the circuits in bouldering, but. Yeah, there were a bit different type of volumes, you know. So
did you see a volume first time climbing on it at a competition?
Not really. I've seen them before on like either national comps or in the gyms in Slovenia, because in Slovenia climbing is pretty popular, and we were, let's say, quite advanced with those things.
Yeah. Because I talked to Dimitri Sharafutinov like a couple of years ago, and he showed me pictures of his training facility, just like a word wall and a little bit of overhang, and he was like, all these running style boulder problems, I just had to learn them in front of the wall at World Cups. He didn't get any chance to try it at home.
Oh yeah, that was pretty much the same with the Slovenians actually, because we were a pretty developed country what considers climbing, but we basically didn't have a good, let's say, bouldering walls. So where we could set some specific boulders. So we always had like good walls, good spray walls filled with lots of holes. But at the end, you couldn't afford to put a big volume, because in this case you would lose so much space. And for me it was kind of the same. I pretty much learned everything on the comps, I would say. But I should say I'm quite lucky, because I naturally feel how to climb on those things. And comparing to others, I spend not so much time training like running stars.
If people would ask me to describe your style or your weaknesses and strengths, I wouldn't say like you're the strongest or the best jumper or the best crimper, but you don't have like any weaknesses as well. Like do you or like major weaknesses? How do you feel about like your climbing abilities? Like, do you feel you have major weaknesses or major like strengths?
I have both actually. So I have major weaknesses for sure, and luckily nowadays climbing it's going away from those weaknesses that I have. So if I say that, for example, flexibility is my weakness. So for example, I can do the split. In this case, I'm a bit lucky because I'm a bit taller, and when it gets to the split, route setters will never make like a extreme split for people my size. So in this case, it's okay for me. And the other thing is, I don't know, maybe finger strength. But route setters again, they try to avoid like too much of a crimps, you know. So probably because of the skin, they don't want athletes to bleed after qualifications. So this is another advantage for me. I would say the best thing with me is that I'm super relaxed. So I know how to enjoy climbing when the others are nervous. So when it gets to the competition, I'm there to enjoy, and that's the best recipe for a good result.
Is it just like your personality, or is it also like a little bit experience?
No, for sure it's experience. If it was just like let's say a normal mindset, then I would be winning even before, because I could almost say that I was even stronger when I was younger. You know, when you get older, you don't climb so hard anymore. At least if you compare yourself to some sessions on the campus or anything.
So you would say the same, like as you grow older, you become a better climber, but weaker.
That's what I would say. Yeah. And maybe that was also one of the reasons why I won last year, because I kind of gave up, but I just still love to compete, so I just went there to have fun. And I also like avoid some super hard trainings last year in spring before the season started, and I just went out. I was still trying to climb like hard boulders or hard routes, and I'm sure this kept me in like okay shape. And honestly, especially in bouldering, maybe you don't need to climb like 8C boulders, because when you get to the comp, you have 5 minutes. Usually the boulders are pretty tricky, and the thing is that you have to figure it out. It's not to increase force or whatever, to feel stronger. It's just like be relaxed and to know what to do.
Do you feel like sometimes the route setter or the route setting is a little bit too much? When I think back to my ring last year, the first blue pedal boulder, like I personally love stuff like this because it's unexpected, and especially as a climber, you're doing so many things, and then you feel like you grab the jug and you're like, wow, I did something, and it feels really rewarding. I always try to set something like this which feels similar to a skateboarding move. If you do a kickflip or a backslide, you're like, wow, I'm the greatest. That feels really, really good. And I like boulders like this, but a lot of people are also criticizing it. What do you?
Yeah, it feels like people kind of want like old school style back, but I think that's just because it's really uncomfortable to do moves like this, you know, and that's really good for the competitions because it's easier to split the climbers, you know. Of course, it's so much easier to climb on something that you know how to grab and how much to pull from it than go into something that you don't know what's gonna happen. And in this case, bouldering is pretty fun because you have still 5 minutes, so meaning you can do more tries, and there's nothing wrong if you fail. Like people are usually afraid of failing. Yeah. And so they're there before the dyno, like pedaling dyno or whatever, and they don't do it, and then again they have to go over and over this bad feeling of you know, repeating this same kind of stuff. But to me it's just okay. I tell to myself, yeah, if you don't do this one, you just do the next one, and I go into it without expectations or any pressure, and usually in these cases those jumps just happen. Yeah.
Nice. Do you have any boulder? Can you think of any of your favorite boulder you ever climbed at a competition?
Whoa.
I don't know, maybe there's an outstanding moment.
There is, yeah, I would say, because it's so fresh in my mind, I would say it's the final problem in Moscow, the last one. But also it wouldn't be such a thing if I didn't know that the others had no chance of doing it, you know? So in this case, yeah, this one stayed in my memory, but of course the one that you said, the pedaling dyno, that was also kind of a stuff. But I think nowadays people really know, our route setters really know how to make interesting boulders, and I'm really a big fan of a slab, so
you think
many of them that I like.
I like the slabs nowadays. We always have like a change of speed, like it's a little bit slower, then it gets quicker, so you see like real old school slab climbing sometimes, and then it gets unexpected, like, okay, I did this, and then you have to switch in your head and you have to do a jump or whatever, which makes it really entertaining, I think, to watch. When it comes to the competitions, like, do you enjoy a show? Like,
Yes.
Like, I think it's not only a competition, it's also like offering people something to see.
Yeah. And that's how everybody should do it. I mean, it would be nice, but still you have different kind of people, and that's why life is interesting, you know, because not everybody is the same. But in my opinion, there needs to be a show, or at least I like the show, so I can get the energy out of it, and I feel good. I have fun. And
we talked about it before we met. Like, I'm always quite nervous in front of a crowd. Have you ever been nervous in front of a crowd, or did you like grow into it?
I'm almost always nervous. It's kind of a natural thing, I would say. But then I kind of learn how to use these for my advantages, you know. And yeah, it's still hard. It's always this weird feeling, as I said before, because you don't know what to expect. And then you just need to really just raise your mind and go for it.
We talked briefly about boulder number 4 in Moscow. I'd like to know, like, how much did you talk before in isolation about the different ways how to climb it, or did you just like go fluidly, like spontaneously into it? And
that's how I usually do it. So spontaneously, really, like to me, sometimes those 2 minutes of observations in the funnels, it's just way too much, because there are like so many different variations that are possible that you just try to figure out like the simplest way, but you always have to be ready to change something when you're there. And you don't know, even though we know all the holds pretty much, it's still like it can surprise you, and you need to be ready to react as soon as possible when you're at the wall. So yeah, of course you have a vision before you go there, but usually I just try to follow my instinct.
Can you talk me through observation time? So you're running onto the mats, and like if you have like Andrzej, for example, with you, you talk with him about like.
Of course we talk. I don't talk just to my teammates. I talk to everybody, or sometimes I don't talk to anybody. Maybe just because they really want to know every specific detail. And I'm just there and I'm trying to get psyched while just seeing a boulder. Oh, now we have like lots of volumes. No, it's another jump. And so to me, observation means like to get psyched. That's what it is, in my opinion.
In isolation, like is it hard for you to keep the psyche alive? Like being in isolation?
It depends. I'm trying to keep it, but usually it stays there. Yeah. Especially in Moscow, I was like, honestly, I really didn't sleep much a night before, because I don't know, I kind of felt sick, and I got to the semis. I somehow pulled out the best out of it, so I barely catch the finals, but I really felt bad. Like, I thought, okay, I'm happy to be in the finals again, but probably there will be no Kruder show in the finals. And then we went back because luckily we had quite a lot of time gap between semis and finals. So I was like, I was together with Andrzej in the room, so I was like, oh, let's go to the hotel. I tried to take a nap, and there are like 2 things that can happen. Either I sleep for an hour, I wake up, and I'm like totally destroyed, like even more than I am at the moment, or I'll be better. And I really fell into a deep sleep for 1 hour, and I woke up like completely different. I don't know how. And then still yet we went to the ISO. I still kind of felt tired, but my mind was clear, and I was psyched, honestly. And so then we went to the ISO, and we had an observation, and when I saw those boulders, I was like, that's completely my style. I'm gonna have so much fun today. And that's how I kept the psych for the whole comp.
I'm always trying to read on the internet, and I'm always trying to stay away from 88.nu. But sometimes I read these discussions, and Jens is he's about that the friction gets so bad in a final that the last starter has like the biggest disadvantage. Let me put it this way, I feel the last starter in the final has the most pressure, but he also has to deal with it. For me, it's like, of course it's not kind of fair, but it's also part of the game being in the final. If you climb really good in the semi-final, you know that you will make it probably safe into the final. But if you gamble for the last spot, for the least pressure,
nobody's
gambling anymore. But what about the conditions in the final? Do you feel they deteriorate?
I wouldn't say just finals. Maybe semi-finals are even worse, because if you make like good result in qualis, then you're gonna start the last in semis, which means you have like 19 people climbing before you. And yeah, I mean, it's a game I can't change, but I would for sure say it's pretty unfair. If you compare this like to skiing, you have a qualification round and you have a final round. But so they have the same system, they twist, so the best one starts the last, meaning he has worse conditions because the piste is getting worse. But at least he gets a better time from the qualis, so he has an advantage. But we don't have. So you're just all you get is to climb last. You know.
Yeah.
Even if you were like the best in the semis, it means nothing. But yeah, that's the game we have to play. And
if you could change it, would you change it?
For myself, I would change it, but then it would take away the meaning of competitions, I would say, because people are always waiting for the best, and the best need to climb the last. But yeah, that's how it is, and we have to deal with it.
Yeah, I think it's for me it's like a mean system, but it also means, on the other hand, that you have to, if you are the best through semis and qualis and semi-finals, you have to prove I'm still the best in the finals, and you have to deal with the pressure. It's really hard, I know. But
and I don't even know when happened the last time that somebody actually won semis and the final.
For the women's, it's really easy. It's Janja many times.
Okay, Janja. It's a different story, but anyway.
For the guys, let's see. Like regarding the men's field, anyway, I think we had the second year in a row where no one won 2 times in a year, right? So, looking around the isolation zone in the semi-final or just even the qualification. I feel like, or you're all maybe strength-wise on a close level, right?
Yeah.
So it's really about the experience and the mental side.
Yeah, I think the mental side is the most important. Or I put this into the same basket: the mental perspective and the experience. It's both connected, actually. And yeah, that's there are like 50 of us who can actually win, and the numbers prove that. So there are people who are one day first, one day 50th, and it doesn't surprise me anymore. Almost the same thing happened to me, and almost to all the winners of each World Cup this year. Like I won in Moscow, and the next comp I was 36th or something. Then same it was with Adam. He almost like got kicked out out of the qualis in Moscow.
Yeah, he made it in 20.
Yeah, 20. Yeah, and Manu, he won one China, the other China he was like far from the semis.
Yeah, that's nice.
And it's nothing wrong. It's just like so many of us who can make it there or not make it.
Yeah. I know it's really hard to categorize, but maybe you can try it. Could you, only if you want, who's the strongest?
There are so many different styles, but maybe
who's the best on crimps?
Maybe I would say like Chon is like one of the strongest ones, and then Tomoa is really good in all this coordination. But that's like such a difficult question.
Yeah, it's a mean
honestly.
question, which is like a.
Then, for example, Alexei, he used to be an animal. Now he got, let's say, a bit older, but again, those experiences that he has, and so now he's using those instead of power. But still, yet he's like extremely strong. When I climb with Vezi and Pehis or the Slovenian guys, they're like, I found them way stronger sometimes than me, So it's really hard to say.
Yeah, really hard to compare. I get that. Let's swap a little bit, switch to another theme. You're climbing lead as well this season?
I do.
You climbed, I think, last season as well?
I tried, I think, 2 comps. Yeah, it was 2 comps last year.
And how was it for you?
Villar was actually pretty good because I made semis, which is kind of a deal for me. And then the other one was Chamonix, where I also felt okay, but I just missed the semis for a few spots. But on the other hand, like in Vilar, where I made semis, I got pretty unlucky because the route was totally not my style, so I got last in the semis. But anyway, I was happy to make it there.
Yeah. So you're aiming to go to the Olympic Games as well, right?
Yeah.
I've seen you
It's
climbing.
the goal.
I've seen you climbing less than 7 seconds.
Yes,
Speed?
it's true.
Right. Do you like the speed format?
Again, another difficult question, but anyway, yeah, it's fun, honestly. I have fun, but the problem is that I would still rather spend this time, so instead of doing speed, I would do either bouldering or lead, or even rather go outside.
I've seen that you are going outside quite a lot. Like if I take a look at other World Cup athletes, they spend way more time in the gym, at the gym, and not that much outside. And is it like the fuel, like you need to recover and charge your batteries?
Yes, but it's also a training for me, because usually I really try to find like really hard projects, and like usually I really don't send them, you know. But to me, it just feels good to stay outside and just trying to do hard moves. And then if it happens, it's even better.
So do you have like a strong or like a rigid schedule when it comes up onto a comp? It's Monday, and on Friday you're climbing already, or on Saturday?
Yeah, it depends as well. Like if I feel super destroyed, then usually I take a day or two off. Like usually it's just a day. But for example, like 2 weeks ago we had nationals for combined, and we had the comp for 3 days in a row. And on the third day, when we were finished with the last category, we went outdoors. We went to the local crack. So, but yeah, then after that I needed like 2 days. But it felt so good that I don't regret it.
Yeah, that's good. A lot of people who are not into comp climbing also criticize that comp climbers are not climbing that much outdoor, and that they could climb really hard outdoors if they just would spend more time outdoors.
I'm pretty sure they could climb super hard, but the thing is that, you know, if you want to be, so at least in the mental perspective of pretty much most of the climbers, if you want to be strong on the comps, you need to train for the comps. If you want to climb something hard, you need to spend more time outdoors, you know. Honestly, I just always say they don't climb outdoors. That's the easiest way. So if they're comp climbers, they could do anything, but they don't do. So they will prove when they do it. It's the same. Like I have many friends who are extremely strong outdoors and like way stronger than I am, or some other competitors are. And I'm pretty sure they could, like, I don't know, even make finals or so, whatever. But they don't, because they don't go there. So it's hard to say what somebody could do. Maybe they would feel uncomfortable because it's rock climbing and because it's hard to find holes, you know. Yeah. You never know. But it's okay, that's how it works, and no one to blame. You know?
I feel that's great about our sport, that you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like some people just climb multi-pitches alpine, and other people do just indoor climbing. And I think it's a good sport.
Yeah, and it's spreading in both ways, like either outdoor or indoor.
Yeah. Being so long already, like competing, like do you meet a lot of people on the circuit who become maybe even friends, or is it just competing all the time with them? Like, how does it feel like?
Well, you know, I've been competing for quite some time, so yeah, of course you meet new people, you know. They're like every season there are like either new guys coming, or the young guys become like more mature, more like older or ready to communicate. So yeah, I have quite so many friends in the World Cups, and I really like them, and I don't really feel like that we are real competitors between each other.
Yeah, that's interesting for climbing, that you still compete against each other, but you're always also cheering for another one to climb good. Like
you know, it's climbing, and maybe that's makes it like such a nice sport, because it's also the reason of like climbing outdoors, you know. So you can achieve something there, and if you don't achieve something on the comp, why wouldn't you just cheer up for your friend? If you can cheer up when you go outdoors, you can do it there as well. So it's just, you know, it's just a nice sport, I would say.
When you started climbing on the international scene, did you have any idols or any climbers you wanted to meet or you were looking up to?
Honestly, not really. Really, I was just so determined that I can climb hard, and I just was focusing on to improve myself, like to get stronger and to climb harder. And I would say my main goal was to climb hard outdoors. But at the same time, I was doing pretty well on the comps, so I just following the comps, and I still feel the same. So I'm doing comps because it's fun and because I can be good at, but like my heart belongs to the outdoor.
Did you think about how long will you continue competing and what you might do after competing?
I think there's I have the same mindset since I began climbing. So I want to be a climber for my whole life, like no matter the age or so whatever. And at the moment, maybe I'm a bit older than the other competitors, but I don't have a specific date when I want to stop competing. For outdoor climbing, I know I will climb outdoors forever. But for the comps, I will see. I will listen to my heart. If I feel like quitting tomorrow, I'll quit tomorrow. But if I feel like I can still be good when I'm 40, why wouldn't I still be competing?
So you like traveling a lot as well? Is it really exhausting on your personal life?
Depends on the situation. So if there is a comp, I usually don't like to travel too much out of Europe anymore. But if I go for some outdoor climbing, of course, it's the decision I made. So I love to go there. But in general, I really like to stay around Europe, so that I can travel with my car, that I'm still kind of close to my home if something happens or so whatever. But yeah, it's good to travel as well. And also the comps, for example, Vale, it's always fun because you meet people, it's a nice scenery. I don't know, good parties or so whatever. And also I kind of learned to love China as well. So I really like to go back to China every year.
Yeah, I know a lot of competitors and a lot of people who don't like going to China because different food, no one speaks English, and like these ghost cities, ghost towns. What do you like that much about China?
Maybe the first thing I liked about China, it was just the thing that you said. So everybody hated it. And I was like, maybe if I change my mind and I try to start liking it, maybe something changes, you know. And it was actually a good thing because I started to see like small things that are pretty nice there. And as well, like within like 10 years since I'm competing also in China, I've seen a change, you know. So also China is not what it used to be back in the days. And still you find people who speak English, and you know the places where to go to find good food, and maybe that's the reason why I really like it.
I think like talking to you, it seems like, or it becomes obvious that the mindset just makes a big difference. Like if you approach it like, I hate it over there, everything sucks. Yeah, you won't have a good time. It just sucks.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's the same with the comps. So either like when we said about being nervous before the comp, it's all the matter of perspective. You can be like, oh fuck, I'm nervous again, or you can just say, okay, you're nervous, accept it and try to do your best. And you will still feel kind of like bad because of this, like you being nervous, but you will try to find small good things about that. And that's the proper recipe.
Proper recipe. Do you have any recipe, like if an upcoming climber is coming to you, like the secret ingredient for me to become a successful competitor?
There is one thing. It's like to have fun. That's like if you don't like to do something, then you won't succeed. It's not only in climbing; it's also in all life decisions. You know? If you have a job, try to find the job that you like, and then when you will wake up, you will be happy to go there. You know, and just remember to have fun and why you're there and why did you decide to be there.
When you started the circuit, I think, were you the only Slovenian guy, or was it Klemen with you?
Actually, it was me and Klemen, and then actually when I actually started, there were like few more Slovenian guys.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, back then, let's say bouldering was not the main thing in Slovenia yet. And then I think I started to bring more like life into bouldering, because I made first finals for Slovenians.
When was it, your first final?
2010 in Vale.
In Vale.
Yeah.
2010, Daniel Woods won.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. This crazy all out.
Yeah. Only me and Daniel did it.
Was it when you had like this
head on the hand on the head? Yeah, you know, I always liked kind of a different or a special haircuts.
Yeah, why not? Do you think like people call you like crazy Kruder? They expect something too much sometimes of you?
Maybe they do, but honestly, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like it's their problem, I would say, in a bad way. But of course, I'm aiming for like being a great showman. I try to do it. I will always try to do it. But I think pretty much all of my fans pretty much understand bouldering already. So they just cheer for me, and they also cheer for me when I have downs.
Yeah. You said that you brought bouldering a little bit like more into the public, or just made it a little bit more famous, whatever, that you pushed bouldering. What's climbing nowadays like in Slovenia? Is it a big thing? Like, or I don't know any other sport where Slovenia is famous for or really good. I'm sorry to say that.
No, not a problem. But I can easily tell you what we have.
Yeah.
So it's Slovenia. It's pretty small, but we have like many good athletes.
Yeah.
Like in all kind of sports. I would still say that the main sport in Slovenia, or the main like the athletes that are pretty famous, are usually the like winter sports athletes. So we have really good ski jumpers and really good skiers in general. Then we had like European champions in basketball. What was it, 1 or 2 years ago? We have a good motocross rider
And what's climbing nowadays in Slovenia?
And of course we have Janja.
Yeah.
I mean, we have Janja and me and Domen and Gregor and Anže, but still Janja is the thing now in Slovenia, especially when we became an Olympic sport. I think lots of things changed from media perspective.
How does it feel? Like, do people recognize you? People who are not climbing?
Maybe not specifically me, but for sure Janja.
Yeah.
So yeah, in this case, I would say we are a little bit in the shade of Janja.
Yeah.
But anyway, she deserves it. She's the best, and she is the person who is like pushing the sport, like especially in Slovenia. And maybe if there was no Janja, people wouldn't even recognize me. You know?
Yeah.
So thanks to Janja, maybe me and some others as well, climbing is growing.
Yeah, cool. How did you get into climbing?
Man, it was nothing like not a special story. Like we had a local club in my hometown. A friend of mine started with it. I went with him once, and yeah, I fell in love quite fast. And then, especially when they introduced me to outdoor climbing, I got like so deeply in love with climbing that there was no escape.
No escape. That's a good phrase. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jernej, for taking the time and being so honest about climbing and about your feelings. I appreciate that, and I hope you have a you have fun with the Lead World Cups and the Speed World Cups.
I'll do my best.
And I think if you have fun, we will hopefully see you again, World Championships, Toulouse, hopefully Olympic Games, because I feel like we need someone like who's, like you said, a character at least.
Thank you. It's good to hear that, and I'll do my best. But yeah, as I said, no promises, but I'm really working hard on it.
Cool. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye bye.
Bye.